Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cyberside Chats. I am Matt Duran. I am the Director of Training and Research for LMG Security, and with me is...
Sherry Davidoff, the founder of LMG Security.
Absolutely. And we are going to be talking about API keys today, kind of the keys to the kingdom for a lot of the applications that you rely on for your day-to-day operations. So, Sherry, what are we going to be going through today?
Well, I heard through the grapevine that on July 13th, a developer at DOGE leaked a critical private XAI API key.
Yeah, that kind of hit the news, didn't it?
Yeah, and it gave them access to, 52 private LLMs?
Yep, all run by XAI, which is all
Right.
Elon Musk's property, backed by SpaceX and Twitter and all the other companies that he owns. So a lot of potentially sensitive information there and a lot of opportunity to manipulate those LLMs to, I guess, make them say the things that you want them to say.
Yeah, and this is more than just let's all sit and eat popcorn and watch what happens.
Right.
This also applies to us. In fact, this really touches on a very important issue of key leakage.
Right.
And we have seen over and over again in the past year or two that it's increasingly becoming a problem, and keys are increasingly targeted by hackers because they know that they can unlock doors.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's the same as we see with like token or cookie theft or something like that. If you can get access to an API key, you have access to the system as whatever user you're, attempting to be at that point. Like, you've talked about this before with like hotel room keys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the room key that enters you into the hotel room, the room doesn't care who you actually are. If you have that key, you're granted access, and you have access to whatever the normal person has at that point, right?
Basically, they're keys that software uses to authenticate itself
Yeah,
between
exactly.
platforms.
Yeah.
So so let's just sort of dig in. First of all, who leaked this?
I mean, this was one of the developers that worked for both SpaceX and Twitter and a bunch of the other Elon Musk companies. Marco Ellis was his name, and
he was also doing development work on behalf of the U.S. government.
right.
Correct?
So he's working for DOGE, and he's had unfettered access at this point to things like the Department of the Treasury and a couple of others. Like there is concern about the level of access that DOGE employees have, and we're not going to get into detail on Marco and the entire history behind him. Although that's an entire.
There's a lot of eating popcorn to be done.
There's a whole podcast by itself there, but. What it means is that like one of the DOGE employees who had very tight access to sensitive information for the government and sensitive information for SpaceX and Twitter and others made a mistake that we oftentimes find as a pretty common error with software development.
A developer does a commit to a GitHub repository, and we'll get back to GitHub.
A public one, by the way.
A public one. And there were secrets embedded in the code, which happens over and over. And then the other piece of this that I think is really important is that key stayed active after discovery for days. Mm-hmm. It didn't get revoked for a couple days. And Tom Pohl, who's our head of pen test, I did an interview with him on this and was like, why would this stay active? How come they couldn't just, boom, revoke it? And he said, well, software probably depends on it, critical software.
It does.
And you can't just instantaneously break everything in some cases.
Oh, sure. No, if you revoke an access key, I mean, there's a waterfall effect where all the software that is depending on that key for access starts to break as it goes down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even rotating keys in a normal organization becomes a problem that needs to be addressed by IT staff because it is not a trivial thing. It's like changing a password for something. Like anything that relies on that access needs to know that key has changed and needs to have the new access associated with it.
And honestly, 2 to 3 days is pretty good. When we're doing pen tests, Tom and his team find keys in products all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, he did a great talk at DEF CON. What was it called?
Private keys in public places.
Private
it's
keys in
amazing.
public
If you guys haven't listened to it, totally go check it out. Yeah.
And he found Apple and Google blessed TLS certificates, including their private keys, embedded in Fortinet firmware, which of course is very widely deployed. He's found hard-coded admin credentials in network appliances, AES keys embedded in compiled Java jars, authentication keys, private keys that are embedded in printer firmware. Mm-hmm. And so when one of these is discovered and you discover it's been leaked, it's not just a matter of, boom, the vendor flipping a switch. All of that has to be, first off, they have to figure out the repercussions. Where has this key been used? Update figure out how to function without it. And then push a software update, or in some cases, just provide new hardware.
No, I mean, this comes down to like one of those fundamental elements of like secure software development. Yeah. And we've talked about this before in a couple of our other podcasts, but when we're looking at how you code the software that actually works in your organization, if you are putting hard-coded passwords or hard-coded API keys, and I'm going to go ahead and steal a quote from Tom on this one, if you're putting those in your source code, you are doing it wrong. And that's really what it comes down to.
That's a deep quote.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I mean, when we look at our pen test team, I mean, if they can get access to the source code for your software, and they can find a,
or they decompile binaries.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and if they can find that key or if they can find that password, I mean, they have the keys to the software at that point. It's you're game over.
And then once he gets on your printer, he has another talk on this. In one case, he actually elevated privileges and took over somebody's AWS after he got on their printer.
I remember that one.
They're special.
Tom is diabolical, so go ahead and check those out. But
the bottom line is that the world is littered with leaked keys, and that affects you and your risk level. And when we get to our takeaways, this is something that you need to think about.
Right.
But we've also seen some really public breaches involving leaked keys.
We have, yeah.
What's one that comes to mind for you?
I mean, one of the big ones that pops to my mind first and foremost is BeyondTrust.
Oh, yes.
I mean, BeyondTrust is, it is security software.
It's remote
it's remote access software that's meant to administer a network and to be a piece of your security system at that point. And there was an incident where allegedly a Chinese nation-state group got a hold of...
You know what I think of when I think of BeyondTrust?
What?
Department of Treasury. Like, literally, that's my association.
I mean, that is
because
the association, right?
That's
who got hacked because of them.
Because of the BeyondTrust.
Yeah, like, there was an API key that was somehow acquired, and because of that initial foothold into the network using that AI key, the attackers at that point, which again are supposedly nation-state actors, were able to move laterally and start stealing data from a bunch of different organizations that were using that software.
So even though it wasn't their initial foothold, they had some zero-day vulnerabilities. They got in, they stole an internal API key, and that enabled to do password resets, gain remote access, and really just expand their access.
Yeah.
Again, they were able to open doors with that key.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't just affect BeyondTrust.
No. It's not BeyondTrust by themselves. Like, I don't want to make it sound like that's like a unique scenario, because we see keys being stolen constantly, and a lot of it comes down to how software developers work with their code.
Well, I think the point there, though, is it wasn't just BeyondTrust. It was 17 other customers.
Right.
And we see this all the time. Like, again, Tom and his team, they were doing a pen test for a water utility, and they found a vulnerability in the software.
Right.
And that included a hard-coded backdoor and also a TLS certificate that was used not just for that customer, but for every other one.
Yeah, for every single person who used that utility. And what was amazing about that was that based on that signature, I mean, they could take something like that TLS key and they could toss that into Shodan, and now they have a map of
found all
everyone.
of them because it's reused across every customer.
Exactly. They have a map of everyone who's using that software. And so if there's a way they can get into one of those customers, they can now get into every single one of those.
And then the hard-coded backdoor was also an issue for all the customers
that's a problem.
As well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this just goes to show that your vendor risk, of course, is your risk, but also how your vendors manage their keys has a significant impact on whether a hacker can gain access to your environment if they manage to gain access to a different one.
Sure. And I mean, when you talk to your vendors about this, which you should be doing, I mean, key rotation is not a trivial thing. We talked about this already. I mean, there is a process that you have to go through. I mean, it's kind of like the software update process or anything else. Like, you need to make sure that you have this tested. You need to make sure that your vendors are able to do this in a consistent manner, something that's not going to break your software. Because, again, there's a waterfall effect if a key gets revoked and the new keys aren't updated properly. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and honestly, when SolarWinds happened, I think many of us in the industry started developing standard questions for vendors after they get hacked.
Yeah.
And I think one question that needs to be on there is, were there any stolen keys, and have those keys been rotated? And when you're vetting your vendors, you need to ask, do you have a plan? You know, do you check for keys in your software? Because they shouldn't be there at all.
Right, ideally.
And any keys that you're relying on, do you have a plan for rotating them if they're exposed?
Well, and I mean, speaking as someone who has done software development in the past, I understand from a developer standpoint why you would try to sneak a key. I am one of them. Like,
yeah, it's lazy.
It is lazy. I mean,
the DOGE developer was being lazy. Is it fair to say that?
It is fair to say that. It's easier than creating environment variables or something like that that will like make you not have to put a key in. I mean, just dump the key in and hope nobody notices.
It's like writing your password and putting it on a laptop on a sticky note. Nobody ever does that.
Of course, no one ever notices that password 123 is on a sticky note on the receptionist computer or something like that.
It could be a very complicated password.
Well, what that means though is that, I mean, especially if you're using collaborative software like GitHub or something like that, if you have hard-coded keys or hard-coded passwords or something like that, and you upload to a public repository, I mean, think about GitHub. Like, with GitHub, there are like 39 million public keys available. and passwords on GitHub at this point. And there are utilities like
Whoa.
Trufflehog that can actually search for those and do on a regular basis.
Didn't they have wasn't this in the news at some point?
Oh, it's been in the news in like multiple different elements.
Yeah, 39 million secret keys have been exposed on GitHub.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like a one-time thing. They're just in there.
Oh no, they're just in there, and it's been like years since this has been happening, and it continues to happen. And like even with like let's take Microsoft as an example with and I know this is a story you don't like to talk about, but like the Magic Unicorn API, that was leaked. Allegedly because of an upload to a public GitHub repository.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, vendors sometimes make mistakes and upload things
It
publicly
happens.
that they don't intend to.
Yeah.
And so in GitHub, we know there's secrets like AWS keys, AI-related, OpenAI keys.
Right.
What other kinds of keys?
Oh, I mean, anything that you would need an API key to access. So any application that you're working with, AWS, Microsoft.
And do people like crawl through this regularly?
Oh, regularly. Yes, there are security researchers who do this on a daily basis, and also, I mean, we can assume there are attackers who also do the same thing. Like,
I kind of want to start doing this.
Why wouldn't you?
Get rich quick scheme. Are there cryptocurrency private keys? Asking for a friend.
My lawyer advises me to not answer that question, but no, I mean there are other ways the keys can be exposed though. Like DeepSeek is a great example.
Yeah.
So with DeepSeek, and we did a little bit of a segment on DeepSeek when we talked about AI a few episodes back.
Yeah, check out our previous podcast on DeepSeek.
Yeah. But with something like DeepSeek, I mean, people were uploading source code to DeepSeek for analysis, and then DeepSeek suffered a data breach where they lost 1 million records of things that people had uploaded to the platform.
Right.
And that was the prompts people were asking, it was the source code they were uploading, and we saw things like AWS keys and MailChimp keys.
It included over 12,000 keys
like
for lots of different organizations.
Pretty rough at that point. I mean, it's the reason why Samsung originally banned all of their users from using something like ChatGPT.
Well, this is why I worry that hackers will get ahead of us. Because like we did our RSA talk on Worm GPT and evil hacker tools like exploiting software vulnerabilities.
Right.
But the problem is we have to be careful what we use to analyze our software.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And hackers do not. They do not care if they leak your API key. So unfortunately,
that's a fair point.
Some more constraints on the defenders than it does on the attackers.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
So, anyway, let's talk about some key takeaways. Get it? Key takeaways.
Key takeaway. That's very clever.
Okay. Number one, treat API keys like, if they get leaked, treat them like a full-blown incident. Make sure you have in your incident response plan, you have a method of dealing with a leaked API key, either for your own organization if you leverage them, or a vendor's API key. How are you going to handle it if a vendor's API key gets leaked and it's something that you rely on? Yeah,
no, it's a big deal. If your keys get leaked, I mean, those are just as good as username, password plus MFA. I mean, if you've got the API key, you are in the door in a lot of cases. Yeah. Also, make sure that you are asking your vendors like hard questions about how they manage access into their networks. Are they rotating keys? Are they, aware of what the risk is if one of those keys gets leaked? And what is the risk to your data if something like that gets out in the open? Because, I mean, there are a lot of different ways it can happen, either by simple mistake or by theft or something else like that. I mean, do you rotate keys? How frequently do you do it? Yeah. Again, like just be very upfront with your vendors about that.
Yeah, make sure you're including that in vendor vetting. I think number 3 and 4 go hand in hand. Number 3, scan your environment for exposed secrets. Yeah. Whether or not you develop your own code, there's all kinds of reasons that you might have different kinds of keys in various places in your environment. And I guarantee you, they will surprise you. Again, this is something we stumble across in penetration testing all the time. And then takeaway number 4 is make sure when you're conducting your penetration test that your testers are looking for secrets. They're looking for leaked keys because hackers know to look for them. It's a common tactic these days. Don't just look for passwords, also look for keys, and then make sure they're seeing what they have access to.
One of my favorite examples of this, actually, I'm going to steal this one from Tom as well, but he talks about hidden shares on networks where IT admins will hide like PowerShell scripts and things like that. And a lot of times those scripts have hard-coded passwords and keys in them because it's what the IT staff uses to actually do their day-to-day operations. And what he says, and this is like one of my favorite quotes, so when you put a $ in front of a file name on a share, it hides the share. But it means that we can still find it. And what Tom says is that $ equal $. Like that is where we look to find for the hackers anyway. It's where we look to find the most sensitive information, and it is absolutely a problem we see that's endemic in a lot of networks at this point.
Yeah, so don't just look for passwords, also look for things like keys.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, If, like me, you do build software from time to time, don't hard code your passwords and your secret keys. I mean, it is a basic tenet of secure software development. If you put that into your source code, someone will find it. It is easy enough to get to.
I'd also extend that to IT staff. If you're making little scripts or things like that, we definitely see keys being attached, or like, automated logins that are key-based, and keys being stored in locations where they're unfortunately widely available.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing you can do at that point is to set up an environment variable that's on your system locally and run your script with that environment variable so that that key or password never actually makes it into the script. And a lot of people don't do that. Again, very simple thing to do. It just takes a little bit of extra time.
Yeah, I can tell you're in IT mode. You're like, oh man.
God, I've been thinking about this the entire morning. So yeah.
Well, with that, thanks so much for tuning in this week. Please like and subscribe to Cyberside Chats, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.